Today, we're jumping into a really interesting personal account of how large language models, LLMs, are completely changing the game for learning and solving technical problems. This isn't about the hype, it's about how this stuff actually works day to day. All right, let's get into it.
And this quote, man, it just hits home, right? Doesn't matter if you're a pro developer or just starting out. That feeling of staring at a totally blank screen when you're about to try a new technology, it can be seriously intimidating. It's a roadblock for pretty much any kind of creative or technical work.
So let's really dig into this blank screen problem. For years, it's been the first big hurdle you have to jump over when you're trying to learn something new in tech. Getting that initial momentum going is just so hard.
And here's the really frustrating part about it today. The problem isn't a lack of info, not at all. We're practically drowning in it. The internet has endless tutorials and forums. But if you need to learn something like Docker for the first time, or maybe write some CUDA code, you end up wasting so much time just wading through pages of stuff that isn't quite what you need, looking for that one little thing that will get you unstuck. You can really see how we've evolved right here. I mean, think about it. Back in the 90s, you'd buy a physical book and just start from page 1. Then in the 2010s, it was all about Google, searching for tutorials and praying someone on a forum had the exact same problem as you. But today, it's becoming this back-and-forth interactive conversation.
So, this leads to a pretty huge shift in how we should even think about this stuff. The author of the piece we're looking at suggests we stop thinking of AI as just a smarter search engine. Instead, think of it as an interactive partner you can learn and build with. And this really breaks down the difference. A static tutorial is like a lecture. It's a one-way street. It has to assume you know certain things and that you want to build a generic example. But a real dialogue, that's a two-way conversation. It adapts to you, to your specific error, your specific goal. It's a much faster, more personal way to get where you need to go.
This right here, this is the key. The person who wrote this wasn't trying to become a Docker guru. They just needed to use Docker for something else. Their real goal was to solve a different problem. This AI partner lets you learn just enough, right when you need it, so you can get your actual work done without getting stuck for hours learning a secondary tool.
All right, so let's get into the fun part. Let's see what learning in real time actually looks like. We're going to go through a few solid real-world examples to show you how this new workflow actually plays out.
Okay, so here's that classic blank screen moment of dread. You need a Docker file for a Python project. The old way? You'd go search Python Docker tutorial and start clicking through a dozen links. The new way? You just ask.
And just like that, boom, you've got code. Now, is it perfect? Is it ready for a massive production system? No, but it's a start. It works. You can build on it. That huge initial wall is just gone.
But we all know it's never that easy, right? What happens when you run it and get this? That cryptic error message that just makes your heart sink. This is normally where you'd start a whole new, frustrating search. Instead of diving into a Google rabbit hole, you just paste that error in and look at the response. It doesn't just fix it. It tells you why it broke in plain English. And it gives you corrected code that prevents the crash. You're not just debugging, you're learning. It's all part of one single, fast-moving process. And it's not always about these big, complex coding problems. It's also for those tiny little questions that pop up when you're working on something just outside your main area of expertise. Let's do a few quick ones. For instance, what does this weird number on a capacitor mean?
Instant answer. No digging through data sheets or old electronics forums. You just get the info and you move on. You stay in the zone.
Or this one. How many times have you had to figure out some weird formatting thing in a tool you don't use every day? Usually, that means another web search. And again, boom. The exact code you need, you can just copy and paste it. The real win here isn't just the 30 seconds you saved. It's that you didn't have to break your concentration on what you were actually writing. Okay, now for a really annoying one. This kind of shell error can drive you absolutely nuts, even if you're an experienced dev. It's just one of those tricky things. And this is what's so cool. It doesn't just give you one fix. It gives you 3 different ways to solve it and actually explains the root cause of the problem. It teaches you that your local computer is messing with the command before it even gets sent to the server. You come away actually understanding it better.
But this example,
This might be the most mind-blowing one of all. The author had no idea what a drop cap was. They didn't have the jargon, but it didn't matter. They just described what they wanted it to look like, and the AI knew exactly what they meant and gave them the right code. That's a total game changer. You don't need the secret password anymore.
So let's step back for a second. What does all this actually mean? What are the bigger implications of working this way? Where is this all heading?
Because at the end of the day, this isn't about saving a few seconds here and there. It's about preserving your mental energy. It's about staying in that creative flow state. Every time you have to stop, switch apps, think up the perfect search query, and sort through the results, you're chipping away at your focus. This new way lets you stay locked in on the real problem.
And that leads us to the big takeaway here. This technology is, in a way, raising the floor for everyone. It's a massive equalizer. If you're an expert, it makes you faster. But if you're a non-expert, if you couldn't do something before, well, now maybe you can. It's incredibly empowering.
Which leaves us with the same question the author had. It's this mix of excitement and maybe a little bit of apprehension. This much change, this fast, is empowering, but it's also a little scary. So I'll leave you with that. What about you? Are you excited or afraid? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning into The Explainer.